one microphone. If you're a rational individual, so
Fuck, man. Oh, 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 oh. Fuck, man. Yo, yo. Is it quiet for you guys? It's really loud for me. It's like really loud for me. There's like a ha, there's like a bah, there's like a bah on the mic, so it doesn't fucking blow your fucking ears out the way I'm getting blown out in these fucking order books. Get my back top. What's good, man? What's good? 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 What is good? All right, look. Can I just like be fucking for real honest today? Is I'm a little bit tilted. Okay, I'm a little bit tilted. Um, I'm a little bit tilted because I feel like I'm just better than the market, and I like deserve to win this one, and I'm not right now. I just feel like I'm better than the market, honestly. Straight up. I'm not really here to do the sugarcoating. I feel like I just am better. I just feel like I'm right today. And the market's wrong. And I feel like I'm about to just talk a lot today. I'm about to just rant a lot today. I feel like we genuinely have like the idea of what has happened and how out of control the situation has gotten. But it's gonna be probably impossible to actually get to the end. This is why I sold oil at 102. I sold crude at 102. I sold crude at 102 because I sat here and I thought to myself, I'm just not gonna make it. I have the idea. I have the balls to put the risk on. I have the look and the confidence to come here and share it. And I have the knowledge to come up with the idea. And I think I have the right expression, which is the new thing that everybody, I guess it's not new, but it's new to me. I'm like I'm not like, dude, I'm not like a 20-year like practiced trader. Okay. I didn't fucking work in HF. Like, I'm not like, there's like there's like traditionally trained traders. I'm just like not one of them. So I haven't spent like 15 years like jerking myself off to like, what's the expression? But I understand why it's the most important aspect of these trades. And I think we just like have the right one. But they're just not. If you're a fucking bitch, they're just not going to let you get there, is what I'm feeling. They're just not. They're not going to let you get there. And so I had this cheeky long. I've made like 3 bad decisions in concession, I think. I think I made 3 in a row, which is a little bit annoying because I think I executed flawlessly round 1. Absolutely just. Where's Viblet, by the way? What the fuck? Where the fuck is? Okay. Lord. Okay. I feel like I executed absolutely flawlessly round 1. And I got paid for it. That's the thing, is like I'm really big on this idea right now. Like you could argue that being a speculator in the market is like the most important role in society, bro. Because you're like pricing in truth, right? And if the market is wrong, like the best way to figure out what is actually happening in the world is, what does the market say, right? And so it's being a speculator is actually one of the most essential jobs in the world. It's an essential worker, like, to society. Without like, Thicky said this thing. He was like, I'm just gonna repurpose like 100 Thicky takes today. Hear me out. It's like, imagine if you didn't have internet access and you were just living in the world day to day. You didn't have internet access. You couldn't see markets. You weren't reading Twitter. You weren't reading social media, and you had to figure out how long would it take you to figure out a tangible shift in like culture, like the world's changed. You'd probably be like 3 years too late. I mean, how long would it take? Like, COVID would have hit you like pretty quick, for sure. But how long would it take to know like we're like in a recession? It would like take a year probably. You would have no idea it's happening if you just like go about your day. And so we had the fucking expression nailed. But man, these order books are no joke. So I'm gonna talk about it. I made like one mistake, which honestly, it's hard for me to. I don't know. There's no way for me to really know better. I flipped crude to Brent at the top of the spread between the two because I was worried about this export controls thing. Well, I wasn't really worried, but everyone on Twitter was worried, and I just like sucked in their fucking fear, and it made me get worried. And then I flipped at the top, and then I got stopped. I wouldn't have got stopped out on crude, but I got stopped out on Brent. Whatever. It is what it is. But a lot's happened the last 24 hours. I feel like I've learned a lot in the last fucking 3 weeks. Seriously. I feel like I've learned a lot in the last 3 weeks. I feel like I learned a lot in the last 24 hours. Like I don't know. I just like, yeah, I think I just have like a lot to say today, I think. Also, I have this thing where if I get less than 8 hours of sleep, what else you sucking? I have this thing if I get less than 8 hours of sleep, I'm like actually useless to society. Like I have nothing to contribute to the world if I get less than 8 hours, and I did last night. It's crazy. I would definitely struggle in medieval times. Like I've spoken about this before, but I wouldn't do great in the caveman era because if I get less than 8 hours, I like have nothing to contribute to the world at large. Because even if I'm contributing by speculating, they're bad decisions. So it's like it's adding noise to the truth machine of the world. I'm actually bad for the world. If I get less than 8 hours of sleep, I'm like a burden to society, which is tough. So I gotta work on that, doing more. I gotta hit the 8 hour threshold. Like I have to. So, all right, welcome to the stream. By the way, Miami, Ohio yesterday, movie. I have a balance I've assigned myself of what I'm willing to fucking lose betting on sports, and it's the one time a year where it's okay to bet on sports, and I'm gonna fucking gamble my dick off over the next couple weeks on every game. I bet Ohio State lost at the buzzer. I bet Troy lost by 30. I bet Miami, Ohio. That was a movie. That was a fun one. I have USF getting blown out. I just bet upsets only. I went to VCU, so I hammered VCU hard. And then I bet BYU pretty hard. Pauly, yeah. And then I'm going to bet St. John's all the way because they're so fun. And I'm going to bet, I don't know, whoever else. But we can do that at the end of the stream. College basketball's on. Split screen me if you must because it's fucking exciting. But, all right, we have a lot to talk about. I want to get into the stream. We have Netanyahu just did his first appearance. He's alive. Trump had some crazy appearances. I have some really good writings, some really good articles. Market's about to close in 3 minutes. We'll look at the market. We'll get into it, and then I'm going to just fucking complain for 3 hours. All right, roll call. Let's go. Who's here? Rockefeller, Teo, Eldorado, Caleb, Tweba, what's good? Zora, what's good? By the way, somebody came here about the 70-day streak, and if I've missed you, I apologize, but somebody popped a 70-day streak, and I'm not sure I've like said that name very many times. Art Mommy, what's good? Cowboy, what's good? Poco, what's good? J Pole Worm, what's good? Seth, what's good? Sparky, what's good? Viblet, Wavy, Seth, Gerlin, what's up? Like, what's the deal? Maybe I'm tweaking, and you've been typing in the chat every day, and I'm actually apologizing, but I don't feel like I've read that name very many times. Rasmer, what's good? You just lurk? Like, what's up with that? You're just like a big time lurker. I fuck with that. Big lurker? That's lit. Why do you show up every day? Well, what are you trading? What's your highest conviction trade right now, Gerlin? What are you the most excited at? What are you most long? If it's cash, let me know. What are you like the most in right now? What is your number one highest conviction trade? I'll be at 70 streak if you didn't stream on a Saturday last week. Yeah, it happens. When you just want this shit that bad. I'm mostly long Zach and XPL. Okay. Welcome amongst the fellow mentally ill, my friend. Welcome amongst the fellow. Welcome, my friend. Smiley, what's good? Wait, what's good? Also, if you're watching on Twitter or YouTube and you like to chat, twitch.tv/threadguy. I don't want to waste a lot of time today. Let's just get into it. Man got off a 70-day streak. First time chatter on a 70-day streak to say I'm long XPL. That's our boy, though. He fits right in. He's one of us. He's one of us. He is one of us. Yeah, he'll never chat again after that reaction. Yeah, first and foremost, real quick, I'm not gonna spend any time on sports, but you gotta fucking love March. Okay. Miami, Ohio yesterday. First win since 1999 in the tournament. I mean, come on. You gotta love March. Imagine trying to make a free throw behind this. You gotta love it. You gotta love it, dog. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Shout out to Miami, Ohio. Shout out to fucking Poly Market. I cooked on it. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a while since I made money on a sports bet. Yeah, Duke is losing. Update me if the game gets really close because that would be gnarly. But all right, market just closed. Let's go over it and then we'll get into topics. You know the routine. I like this routine, by the way, starting with market close. Let's go. Where are we at? And one of the most, what's Poly on Duke? That's actually a good question. I'll check. They still 78. This is probably a decent bet. Still 78. And one of the just most miraculous turnarounds I've ever seen. SPY closes only down 0.25% today is just unreal. Just unreal that this closed down only 0.25%. Q's down 0.3. And software ETF, IGV flat, nuts. Russell up 1%. People are fucking gambling. The Dow, just the worst chart ever. Pam Bomdi. Crude down 1.3%. What do we got here? Hims up 5. Circle finally a red day. Not a lot of stuff we care about. Yeah, IGV, whatever. Let's go to the big names. Nvidia down 1%. Adobe flat. SanDisk up 2.4. It's been ripping. Dude, I've been so bullish on Max Long. We'll talk about it. I'm going to just spend like a lot of time. I want to just like game theory out the rest of our life today is what I want to do. I want to just like go over what could happen from here. I'm not going to waste a lot of time today. Like let's just like get to it. I want to just go over like what could happen from here in my brain and then what it means like for the world is what I want to do. All right, let's go. What else we got? Apple down 0.5, Netflix down 3. Who was talking about Netflix today in the chat? Spicy Meatball, you're long this? Looks terrible. Microsoft down 1, Oracle up 2, Micron down 4, Meta down 1.5, Amazon down 0.5, Tesla down 3. That's mostly where we are at today. And then crypto and metals. Bitcoin, decent. It got this kind of like fake relief bounce on, I guess, the Netanyahu convo. Who cooked with these lists? We set them up as a team. I guess on the Netanyahu convo, which I didn't watch it. We'll go over it. Gold down 3.5, crushed. ETH down 3, Zcash down 5. The dollar, DXY down 1%. Sol actually relatively strong. Silver down 3.5. Hype down 5.5. Was the hype outperformance just that SPY announcement? Maybe. And then the VIX is down to 24.40. And it is down 2.7% on the day. And then last but not least, Brent oil currently 103.08. And then crude, which they've updated to WTI, is at 94.5 on the big hyperliquid. So, all right. Before we start, how is everybody positioned? What is your highest conviction trade right now? Like, where do you have the most capital? Is it dollar? Where do you have the highest percent of your port in risk? Bitcoin, Zcash, Zcash, hype, dollars, hype, USD, punch the monkey. It'd be nice if somebody could fucking come here with the goddamn like fertilizer thesis or something. Gold, unfortunately, I think you're going to do fine on that. I'm honestly paying attention to gold for the first time in a while. I'm like really looking at it. Dollars, short JPY. You have Tulip King for that. Yeah, Tulip King's goat. Hype USD, oil to -40. Imagine, bro. Oh my god, imagine. Still BTC and ETH. Cash, not gonna lie. By the way, first chatter, 1x2 net worth long hype. Nice. Cled, oof. I can't long fertilizers and wheat and soybean and sugar on hyperliquid, otherwise I'd be on that. It's actually a good question. Let's look at that real quick. We need wheat futures on hype. You probably get them sooner rather than later. What's the ticker? Wheat cash contract. Is this the best? Wow. That's pretty. It reminds me of like, is this the best or should I look at futures? Trades the same? Yeah. It kind of like reminds me of like, I'm about to, you know this chart, like, ooh, this is a crazy chart. What happened here? Energy crisis on Ukraine war. Ukraine Russia is what this is. And then what? We just didn't track. What's like the historical? Like how far back does this go? Wheat futures. I actually have a lot of takes today. I've learned a lot today. I think Thicky. I got in this like debate. What happens before 2020? Am I just retarded? You couldn't trade it before 2020? Anyways, it kind of looks like this chart, unless I'm crazy. It looks a little bit like when fucking fart coin started curling a little bit on the daily the first time. It has like a little bit of this like physiognomy going on here. This is a brutally horrific chart. The stock guys are talking about it in the morning again. But yeah, I wish I maybe we'll look at some of this a little bit, some of these second order effects. I heard somebody say this take, and I thought it was a pretty good one, which is that the market is really bad at pricing in like second order effects, like thinking ahead. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right, actually. That it is really bad at that. Like, I wish I could go back to COVID and like buy like Zoom or like Peloton, you know? It's like, yeah, obviously these things are gonna go great. But okay, I want to read this post and we'll start here. This is Plur Daddy, who I think this is probably one of the top 5 smart people on Twitter. Honestly, I do. Top 5 smart people on Twitter. If I could get him on the stream, I would. But he doesn't post that much. But just, what is this, by the way? Does anyone know what this is? What am I looking at exactly? One of the smartest people on Twitter. And he reads, equity bears are at the brink of insanity given resilience. It is Yakub. I thought it was. Plur Daddy after Chris Camillo. Equity bears are at the brink of insanity given resilience in the indices, but odds of a breakdown are increasing now. Equities top slowly as passive flows and rotational dynamics can hold up indices for a long time. There are many structural forces rigged to push them higher, and thus it takes a lot to make them go down. Over the course of an equity bull market, buy the dip behavior continually gets reinforced, and the majority of capital will be controlled by adherence to this mantra. In theory, the longer prices remain coiled, the larger the move once they exit the range, right? I like this section. This nuke in gold suggests there are liquidity issues brewing under the surface. It feels like a preview of what is going to happen to crowded trades. My theory is the Middle East is selling gold to shore up capital as they have lost their revenue and have many expenses around defense. They also need to rebuild lost energy infra and eventually new pipelines to reroute around Hormuz. Sounds logical, right? Middle East dumping gold to fund the money that they've lost in this war. The buyback window is starting to close, and the sugar rush of higher than usual tax refunds is starting to fade. Retail has been a key marginal buyer of equities in these past weeks, and the fading of the tax refund tailwind is critical. I don't really know about this. Tax refund? I don't really. I don't really know what this means. What is the tax refund situation? What is that? Does anyone know about this? I don't know. We'll come back to it. The market is gradually coming to terms. Bro hasn't paid his taxes before. No, like, but why? But I've never heard of it like as a thesis. In April, after you file your taxes due, but why is that like a market thesis? What do you? The buyback window is starting to close, and sugar rush of higher than usual tax refunds is starting to fade. Why would you get higher than usual tax refunds? Like, I understand why it'd be bullish, but I'd never heard there's like a market thesis. Whatever. We'll come back to it. The market is gradually coming to terms with the fact that this conflict may last for a long time. I feel like we came to terms with this really early. Like, really early. Honestly, I do. Now, was it accidental that us coming to this thesis? Maybe, but we did get there. On a conventional level, the US and Israel have completely dominated Iran. But Iran has an asymmetric edge when it comes to controlling world oil prices through Hormuz. Trump can still end it, but the issue is that the US cannot simply leave. A ceasefire with Iran must be struck in order to guarantee that Hormuz is reopened. In order to strike a ceasefire, Iran wants to see a guarantee that the US and Israel won't attack them again, at bare minimum. And it will be difficult for the US to get Israel to agree to that. Also, it's difficult to convince Iran that this will happen, right? Like, every time we negotiate with Iran, we just like blow them up. Like, I struggle to see a scenario in which Iran is like, okay, despite the last 5 times we've negotiated and had a ceasefire, and then you've broken it and like dropped bombs on us, this is the time that you're gonna adhere to it. Trump is used to being able to quickly maneuver according to his whims, as he did with tariffs, but the complex interlocking physical realities of war are different. Oil shocks often contribute to the end of bull markets, since they constrain consumer spending, hit manufacturing, and lower the ability of central banks to offer support. Indeed, the Fed came out slightly hawkish yesterday, and Powell also hinted that he may stay in his governor's seat post his role as the chair ending, which will constrain Trump's plans to unleash liquidity. We have a stronger dollar, and long duration bond yields are going up over the world, which tightens liquidity. The Middle East is tight on money now, and they were the marginal bidder in many assets. In particular, they're a key funder for AI capex through their investments in the frontier labs. They've been 40 to 50% of recent big rounds, which is, by the way, this is crazy, right? Like, I didn't really consider this implication at all either when this started happening, is that how much of the Middle East is like funding our bull market in stocks? These GCC countries that we're just like we just like have drawn into this war, right? That they didn't. I mean, I don't know. At least as far as I'm concerned, they didn't ask for it. A lot of. I mean, how much? Often you hear like Saudis are bidding, you know, Middle East bid. They've been 40 to 50% of recent big rounds is nuts in the AI capex. Like, how much of it this is that? Where are we without that bid, right? I don't know. Remember, other deep pockets like SoftBank are close to being tapped out. Any dollar that goes into these rounds will have to come out of something else, like liquid stocks. Look at my pinned post for this broader thesis. If you want, we could read this. And if we have any signs of risk to AI capex expectations, there will be a major shift in the market's needs to contemplate. I've said this before, and this I love. This is like the fragility thesis as well on the puts. Is like, I've said this before, but puts are a difficult way to express bearish equity views because timing is so uncertain. Equities can hold on for a long time because they are structurally rigged to go higher. Easier expressions are simply being in cash or gradually shorting stocks over time, which helps avoid getting chopped. This is a very difficult market. Stay safe out there. And so I like agree with most of this framing, right? Is that similar to like, okay, I haven't like been thinking about equities for that long. I really haven't. This is like new in my arsenal, but it's great that it's new. It's great that we think about this now because it obviously has big impacts and implications on how the market works. It's just like, okay, similar to how when I was closing the oil long because I'm like, there's just so many like fragile aspects at play here that could go wrong and that could fuck me. The stock market, I feel like, is propped up on so much fragile nuances that could just go. And most of it being this like AI capex, right? Like, can these companies sustain these like gargantuan rounds and spend and somehow figure out how to increase it and increase revenue and just keep going up? At the same time that we're approaching OpenAI wants to IPO, SpaceX wants to IPO, these like massive liquidity suck events. And I feel like everyone's been looking for like a reason. Like everyone, I don't know, like I feel like a lot of the smart people on my timeline have been bearish and looking for a reason to just everything to just mull over. And there hasn't really like been a reason. But then you introduce war into the mix. And then all of a sudden, a lot of these fragile ideas are like at jeopardy, right? One of them, like a second order effect I wasn't even thinking about is like, okay, stocks are propped up on AI, specifically is AI capex, build out and spend that has to keep getting higher and higher. A huge percentage of it, like half, 30%, 20%, even 5% is from like the Saudis in the Middle East, these GCC countries, which have been like drawn into this war from the US and like Israel attacking Iran, and then oil spend gets squeezed, war conflict drags out longer. What is their appetite for energy? AI, exactly. AI energy costs go up. And then what is their appetite to like continue to fund these crazy rounds? Because it's like they're all in the US. Part of the deal is protection. And we're now like in this war, like, you know what I mean? We're like now in this war. And so it's like something I like never really even like I don't know. I just like spend so much time thinking about 24/7 crypto prices exclusively. And I think there's just like way better uses of our time. Like even 95.5 is objectively a better spend than 100.0, right? Even yeah, it's like the bundle is unraveling, but it's like geopolitics. It's like NATO and the GCC. It's like world powers. It's like the bundle selling, and then it's like one guy selling forces this other guy to sell, that then forces this like looped long on Quanto to unravel, and then it just like you get this like fucking. So here's one more post, and then we could just fucking ramble for a while. But yeah, I don't know. Like I've like spent so much time thinking about crypto 24/7, exclusively only crypto, and I like this, the way this is going. This is from this research firm is fucking goated. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Meyer Mikan Research, and it was called Trump's Biggest Gamble. I think it was called. It's pretty long. I'm not gonna read the whole thing. I just have like a couple pages highlighted. And you look rough, twin. I mean, rectal glizzy on the internet. It's like, yeah, you fucking spend 7 days a week for 3 weeks just getting dismantled by Scott Besson in the order books and like trying to figure out geopolitics. And it's not great for your mental health, I don't think. I don't think it's great for your mental health, by the way. Just throwing that out there if anyone wants to like run for the exit doors. It's like I don't think it's like great for your mental health to do this every day. But I also think if you want to be fucking lit and you want to be good, you want to be great, and you want to, bro, here's the deal. I think if you want to make this is one of the things I've learned. I think if you want to make money from these markets, you have like two options. Okay, you basically put your money in Bitcoin and you fuck off for a decade, or you actively trade. But there's no actively trading unless you're like obsesso freako actively trading. There's no middle ground on that. You can't just like actively trade once a week. It doesn't work. It doesn't exist. I've done it and I've driven myself crazy. I've pulled my hair out and I'm taking Hims pills because of it. There's no like in the middle for this. And so yeah, it's probably like not great for your health, dude. Probably not. But I like urge you to post a fucking selfie, you know? It's like fuck you. Anyways, sorry. I fucking like go. It's driving me a little bit nuts. Why did everyone start saying expression in the last few weeks? I don't know. I talked about this at the beginning, but I like it. I like the expression thing. Anyways, here's this post. We'll read it and then we'll see. And so, in short, we think any weakness or really lack of strength in the gold price reflects global liquidity pressures, not geopolitics. This kind of lines up with Plur Daddy. Like everybody's just squeezed. In addition, Iran for some time has been using gold as a trade instrument to avoid sanctions. And it would not surprise if liquidity needs by the Iranian regime were flooding local markets with bullion. We have three observations. First, gold mining shares in no way reflect gold trading above $5,000 or anywhere else. Second, if Trump does retreat, the oil price will likely fall sharply as supply worries vanish and economies continue to slow globally. Okay, that makes sense. Third, if the Strait of Hormuz remains closed and oil shoots to $300 a barrel, as predicted by some analysts, gold will trade a lot higher than $5,000. It is not easy to see how the bull market in gold can end before the dollar system is radically overhauled. And then concluding here is Trump likes huge risks. He is president because he has won more than his fair share. Toppling Iran is the biggest gamble of his career. Victory would reestablish American international power and diminish America's enemies, perhaps boosting the political value of the dollar to the detriment of gold. Trump's economic advisors actively seek a weaker dollar. However, and the Fed will soon have no choice but to begin printing to sustain federal deficit spending and to bail out the financial industry, which gold will love. And the concluding sentence. And failure in Iran risks becoming an American, how do you pronounce it? Suez? Crisis. Precipitating the final demise of the US dollar. And so I kind of like leave this Suez. Wait, hold on. Suez Canal, right? Crisis. Israel invaded in 29 October. The crisis demonstrated the United Kingdom and France could no longer pressure their independent foreign policy without consent from the United States. How did this end? How did Suez Canal crisis end? A humiliating diplomatic defeat for Britain, France, and Israel, forcing their withdrawal from Egypt due to intense economic and political pressure from the United States and Soviet Union. Suez. Interesting. And so many consider this to be the end of the British Empire. Wow. Why did they get crushed so bad? Also, wait, real quick. Just for fun. Oh yeah, they're gonna win. Okay. Many consider it the end of the British Empire. That's why people are making the analogy. Got it. Okay. So then that leaves me to like I just want to like game theory. Oh, wait. How did I just get there? Did my computer just crash? Really? Am I still live? Why did that just happen? That's so annoying. That's really annoying. Whatever, I'll do without it. Fuck it. Man, fuck it. I'll just raw dog the whole stream. I don't even need tabs. Fuck the tabs. Fuck the tabs then. All right, let's do this. Fuck the tabs. Fuck the tabs. I don't even need them. I don't even need them. Honestly, I don't need them. I'll just go raw. So that leads me to. Yeah, like my whole thing just got throttled. You see that? That leads me to. Damn, why did that just happen? Should have clicked restore. I know, but I hold on, chat. Give me a second. We back. Okay, now we're back. Bro, accept the restore. I know, but like, what was I supposed to do? We're gonna go raw without. I don't need fucking slides. Fuck the slides. I don't need any of the slides. So that leads me to Netanyahu today did a speech for the first time. Why did it just like? Am I? Hold on. Nothing works. Why does nothing work? Wait, hold on. Why does nothing work? Is Twitter just down? Let me see. Just Twitter? If it's just Twitter, that's fine. Okay, cool. Here we go. Okay, boom, we're good. Good in Oregon. Okay, so Netanyahu finally did a speech today. He is alive. Netanyahu did a speech today. He did a speech today, and Trump also spoke. Okay, I'll play the Trump clip first. A singular Trump clip first, which is just unreal. You know, and then we'll get into some of the Netanyahu stuff. This played first just to set the tone.
Too much, you know. When we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay, why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay, right? You know, he's asking me. No, you believe in surprise, I think much more so than us. And we had to surprise him, and we did. And because of that surprise, we knocked out, the first 2 days, we probably knocked out 50% of what we, and much more than we anticipated doing. So if I go and tell everybody about it, there's no longer a surprise, right? Okay, one more.
It's Prime Minister of Japan, by the way. She's like, what?
Right? Pearl Harbor, okay?
She says.
Right? You know,
she can't believe what she just heard. So this happens. Oh, there we go. Oh, I'm back. Nice. Beautiful. Beautiful. Cool. Okay, okay, bet. Let me focus now. Nice. Cool. We'll save that. And then I want to go. Okay, cool. So Trump does this. W Luke chat. Trump does this. And then Netanyahu just does a speech. Okay. And he says a couple things. He says Iran has no capacity to enrich uranium or make ballistic missiles after 20 days of war. So number one is like Iran's, beat down. Second thing he says is there are many possibilities for a ground component. I won't share what they are. Third thing he says is need alternative routes that avoid Hormuz and Red Sea choke points. Let's check TradFi real quick. I didn't watch it. Can't do a revolution from the air. So look, you're Trump saying there won't be ground troops, and then Netanyahu comes out and says can't do a revolution from the air. There needs to be a ground component as well. This is we're just Like net dovish, but just headline slop. Headline slop. A lot of headline slop. And so I want to go over Poly Market, and then I'm about to whip out the fucking Microsoft Paint. Okay, and then we'll do Joe Ken after. Here's where we're currently at. Ceasefire by December 31st is the latest date we have on here. Basically flat. And boots on the ground is down a little bit, right? Like it got as high as 70%. And then it's down a little bit. Okay. And so I want to just like, okay, I've just been like thinking in my head here how this could end. And I want to just, I don't know. I want to just like game theory it out because I'm pretty like bearish on the war right now, guys. I'm going to be honest. I'm pretty like, not like radicalized about the war, but I'm pretty, Sienna's leading by 6. Let me know how it is with a minute left. I want to do like an MS Paint real quick. Okay. Because market is saying oil market is saying we're like basically done with the war. And it's like listening to Netanyahu comments, Trump comments. I kind of think there's like 3 scenarios from this whole thing of how this could play out. Okay. There's really 3 scenarios. And every single one of these scenarios, except for the last one, leaves the United States of America fractured. I like the Professor Jang analogy where he talks about the bully because, and he uses the U.S. as the bully, right? The thing about the bully is that the bully doesn't actually want to fight. And so the bully needs to like be really scary and really intimidating so the bully doesn't have to get in a fight. Because if the bully gets into a fight and gets cracked in the jaw, and like if the bully gets into a fight and doesn't absolutely dominate, people start to feel like confident that they could win. And so the bully doesn't like every time the bully fights, it's an extreme or a gamble. Because even if you like, okay, say the bully fights and he fights like the nerd kid and he gets like cracked once, and people could even have the thought cross their mind that's like, oh, wait, if I like got the jab in first, maybe we could take him down. That like belief hurts the social contract. And so like you can think about this like I remember when running a 4-minute mile was like impossible. Like nobody could run a 4-minute mile. It was like impossible to do it. And the first person runs a 4-minute mile. And then all of a sudden, after that, 5 years later, like 8th graders are running 4-minute miles. And then you could even compare it to, we're talking about March Madness in the chat. You could even compare it to March Madness, which is like no 16 seed had ever beat a 1. And then finally, UVA goes down. And then all of a sudden, it's like Purdue went down 2 years later. Purdue loses 2 years later. And so it feels a little bit like the U.S. is in a spot that's like, if Trump doesn't go for the absolute jugular and just destroy Iran, every scenario out of this, you start to question like how much of U.S. dominance and like stock market outperformance is built on military power and our ability to just like get anybody out of there at any moment. Like how much of the dollar's value is just like our military, right? Like it's a lot. And at least from like I was born in 2002. I was born after 9/11, and I was not conscious at all when like Afghanistan and Iraq were happening. Like I was like 6 to like 8 to like 10 maybe max. And so this is like the first time that I've like been around and like paying attention. And you can be my dad, whole year old. This is my first time being like conscious and paying attention. And the US is like at war, like actually at war. It's crazy how fast this happened. But the US is at war. And you've never actually seen it up close, right? So you always just like assume, like I live in the US, I'm patriotic as fuck, I love my country, I say this all the time. You always just like assume that the US can snap their fingers and get anybody up out of there, right? But then we like get into a conflict and you see it start to drag and to start to play out and start to just, I don't know, very clearly go off script and against the way you maybe would have imagined it would have gone. And it's not China, it's Iran. And I know Iran isn't Venezuela, but Iran also isn't China. Or it's not Russia. And you're kind of like, wait a minute, like, what's going on here? Like, it makes you really sit back and think about a lot of the things. Like, it makes you sit back and think about a lot of your beliefs and a lot of your assumptions, a lot of things you're taught in school. Like, I don't know how many people here are like from the US versus not, but I've never once, even for a second, considered the idea, like up until relatively recently, considered the idea that the US dominance could actually be threatened. And so that was a really unarticulate, long-winded way of saying that the US going after Venezuela is not an or gamble. It was like a show of force. The US going after Iran in the situation that we're in right now, again, I'm 3 weeks into geopolitics, but I'm terminally online, is a pretty extreme aura gamble. Like, it's hard for me to accept that Trump thought we could just kill the supreme leader, drop a couple bombs, kill the supreme leader, there would be a regime change, and then Iran is finished. It's hard for me to imagine that that was really the plan. Maybe there is some 4D chess going on, but this is like where we're at, is that it didn't work, and now we're sort of stuck in this spot, and there's like a severe aura gamble going on here. There's a severe aura gamble going on where we have to like figure out a way for this to end at some point, and none of the options are very good. And this is one of the reasons I'm frustrated about my oil trade, which I'll like rant about in a second. But there's kind of like three options here at play. Please, by the way, this is like an open discussion. I know you can't talk, but this is an open discussion. Please, like, if you see option number 4, like, share it with me. Now I have too many fucking tabs open. Let me delete a couple of these. And I'm gonna pull up MS Paint. What's the Duke score, just for fun? Oh, wow, they might actually lose. All right, let's go. Okay, option number 1 is like the best option for the United States and like the least likely, right? Which is like, oh God, this is gonna be a mess. Option number 1 is like ceasefire, okay? Which would be some agreement where like US stops attacking, US stops attacking, and like regime change. And then Iran would stop nuclear program, reopen Strait, and basically like submit to being USA bitch. This is what I would have had if I were to come into this with no context. This is what I would have like assumed would happen. Is this, okay? That would have been my like base case assumption. That, yeah, we're so powerful. We come in, we blow shit up. You fucking listen. You're in so much pain. You're suffering so hard. I mean, look, to be fair, they have a choke point in the Strait of Hormuz, but they have no fucking internet. Iran is like getting, I can only imagine what the scene actually looks like there, right? Like, I know we're struggling more than we should be, but they're suffering, right? They're in pain, obviously. And they say, you guys are the US, you win. We will stop our nuclear program. We'll reopen the strait and we will just like submit. Okay. In exchange, the US will stop attacking. This would be the best case scenario. This is probably what Trump thought would have happened. And to me, this is like 1% chance. I mean, it's like less than 1%. It's not even 1%. This can't happen. It's less than 1%. This can't happen. Like, there's no way this can happen to me. Less than 1%. Okay. And so it's the best option by far. But I'm of the belief that this is completely off the table. This can't happen. Okay. And so you're then left with two options. And dude, unless I'm seriously like have lost it, I think you're left with two options after this. Okay. Which is option number 2, I think is the most likely. And somewhere in the middle is option number 2 is Trump declares victory. This is option number 2. I think this is the most likely. Okay. And so what it would look like is USA stop attacking and Israel stop. Can they even do this? I'm not even sure that they can do this. I'm actually not sure that they can do this. Stop attacking and Israel stop. Declare a win publicly. Win publicly to save markets. To save market. And probably agree to some sort of sanctions and or repercussions that may or may not be disclosed. Right? Because the way things are going, it seems like Iran is willing to die, will go all the way and just hold on to the strait. They don't have to do that much to keep the strait closed, which is very clearly bringing us like turmoil and pain. And so probably pay Iran sanctions. Because if they can keep it closed, it's not, if they can keep it closed, it's not clear to me that stop bombing would make us open the strait. It's not clear to me that that is on the table. And so the offer would be like this. Pay sanctions. Probably. And then Iran, by the way, open strait. Open strait. And probably, at least to me, like what it would take for this to be a fair agreement for them. Like if I'm Iran, keep nuclear program, right? Because it's like, if should I like draw like a line between? Oof, that was bad. Because like, okay, if there's no scenario in which they would agree to option 1, which is just like a pure ceasefire, that means there's something they're not willing to give up. Okay? And the something that they're not willing to give up is probably the nuclear. Because if you're Iran, like I've thought about this for a while now, the last couple of days. Like, what would I do if I was Trump? And what would I do? I know what I would do if I was both, I think. I know what I would do if I was both. What would I do if I was Trump? And what would I do if I was whoever is running Iran? If whoever's running Iran, it's like, okay, there's basically no reason for you to agree to option 1 because you've shown an ability to keep this thing closed and that you have a choke point over the US. Okay? And so you're not going to just agree like open for stop bombing. It doesn't make any sense because the US and like Israel have basically shown you that at every occasion when we're negotiating and or if we have a deal on the table, we will just break the contract and like blow you up. And so you're suffering now, but you'll suffer later anyways. And so you know that if you get a nuclear weapon, suffering like stops. Notice how North Korea is not suffering because you can't fucking do shit. They have a nuclear weapon. And so in my like very like surface level understanding is that Iran can control the strait very easily, which is like a choke point for the world. And it's a pure like geography like loophole that they just have this thing, they have an ability to control it. It's shaped perfectly. Like they have this choke point, this pressure point in the strait, and they have this goal of like get nuclear weapons. And if they can control the strait or leverage the strait long enough to get to a nuclear weapon, the pain stops. And so you basically like you're suffering already. So you might as well like in theory, if you could fend off the US or keep this thing going for long enough while controlling the strait and then eventually get to a nuclear weapon, you just like take that route. And so there's no reason for them to just do like a pure ceasefire, right? Why would you do that? And so the other option is like, fine, you'll open the strait back up and stop an energy crisis in the United States of America, which is what it feels like we're edging to, by the way. Like it feels like we're edging to that. And no one's saying, it feels like we're edging to that. And so you would prevent an energy crisis in the United States of America in exchange for them to stop bombing you, which you know is going to come again anyways, but you openly, publicly keep your like nuclear program and whatever's left of it. And you like build to this end goal, I would imagine, is like a nuclear weapon, right? Now, if you're the United States of America and you're Trump, this is your auto out, save markets, save face, print green candles on SPY and on, make oil red, save an energy crisis, keep gas under fucking $30 a gallon. But this is really bad. This is bad. This is bad. This is a bad off ramp because what this means is this means two things. Okay. This is bad for two reasons. One, the bully got bitched. And two, we have to go back. Okay. Number one is that we went after Iran and very publicly pulled out in this scenario. Like in the declare victory. It was very clear what happened. They squeezed us on the strait. Oil price went up. Stocks went down. We got pretty quickly into a like, no pun intended, nuclear situation. And we had no choice but to pull out. Okay. It means the nerd stood up to the bully. He jabbed him in the fucking face. And the US had no choice but to fucking even to do anything other than utterly dominate is a fracture on like the perfection that is the American empire, right? It fractures like world reserve currency on the dollar. It fractures our like military dominance. It fractures our fear. It's probably fucking makes China more likely to go after Taiwan. There's like big ricochet effects. The bully gets bitched in public. You took a huge aura gamble and you lost. You lost. And that's really bad. And then the second problem is that we have to go back. Like it's not done. It doesn't end. It's like, okay, cool. They opened the strait. They now have more power because they know they can fucking just at any moment, strait's closed. At any moment, strait's closed. Fuck you, strait's closed. And you can't do anything about it. So you've told them you can't stop this move. Number one. It's like when you're playing your homie in Smash and you like don't let him use this one character because he's such an OP move. And anytime you win like 3 games in a row, he's like, okay, cool. I'm playing as Steve from Minecraft again. And then he just like cooks you. That's what this is. That's what the straight becomes if we pull out. And so you admit that they have an OP move you can't stop. You probably end up paying some like export taxes, sanctions, whatever. And then the second is we probably have to go back, right? Anything other than a colossal wipeout, and they're leaving this with whatever is left of their nuclear capacity, and they're building that shit up. And so we end up back. You end up back in Iran. Like it's not over. This scenario is short-term solve for long-term pain. Okay? Or you just let Iran get a nuclear weapon. You don't get to destroy it again. And they are now like a perennial world power that we have to just like worry about forever because we pulled out. We started this thing. We created a mortal enemy if they weren't already. And then we pulled out. And so, guys, I'm going to be honest, in my like game theory journaling, this feels like the most like, I mean, you got to put this at like 30%, right? Or maybe you probably want this to be higher than 30 because the next option is not good. This is what, 30, 40, 30 to 50%, 25 to 50? I don't know. 25 to 50% on this, I think. And now, why isn't America a threat if you all got nukes? The problem with the nuke option is that it protects you, but it does nothing on the offensive. Think about it like, it's very similar to bringing a gun to a street fight, like a street brawl. It's like, okay, you have a gun, so nobody's going to come punch you. But you can't use the gun. This is like the dilemma with the nukes. It's like a nuclear, it's like a mass assured destruction, right? Is you don't get to use the gun. And so if you have it, you're protected, as in we can't, like, if you're like if you're like David and you have a fucking AK, you have an automatic rifle, Goliath can't like run up on you and try to kill you because you'll just shoot him. Okay? But you also can't use the gun. And so it's this weird like prisoner's dilemma situation, is that nobody can use a nuke until somebody uses a nuke and then it's all over. So you don't get to use a nuke. And so the longer, at least in my opinion, the longer the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, the more likely this outcome is, okay? And this is very, very bad for USA empire, okay? The first option is like flat for the USA empire, but it's never going to happen. No, like mutual ceasefire. It's just like not going to happen. This one is very bad. This is the option in which we look the worst. Okay? This one is bad. This probably means dollar fractured stocks, lower PE, Bitcoin up, I think, long term, gold up long term. And I don't know what else, other assets like bonds, bond yields up only forever. Nobody wants bonds. Like, you just like, this is like a loss of confidence in the American empire, I think, is option 2. And so the reason I'm spending so much time on this option is everybody keeps saying, like, I watch Amit in the morning, and he keeps saying like, yeah, stocks are down, but like, wait until Trump just declares victory. Wait until Trump declares victory. And Trump cannot just declare victory, because Iran has a choke point. Iran has a fucking choke point. And there's no reason for them to bend the knee. There's no reason for them to like back off, because they're going to suffer no matter what. And so you might as well suffer and fuck everybody else too. Make everybody else suffer. Misery loves company, right? And so this is the second option, and I think it's really bad. Okay. And then that kind of leaves us with one more option. Okay. 25 to 50% on this. It leaves one more option, in my opinion. By the way, please, if you think I'm super naive and there's an option 4, I implore you to share your thesis in the chat. I would love to discuss it. This is all I think about now. I've just thought about game theory of this a lot. If I'm Iran, I'm going with this. This is your best option, is option 2. That is your, like, that is your ticket back into, like, that is your ticket into, like, the Citadel. Is you get out of this thing knowing you can choke the US with the Strait, and you get to continue working on nukes. Okay? And so that leaves us with one more option, which is option 3. Jugular. Option 3 is jugular. And this is probably the only scenario in which the US comes out of this looking better than we got into it. But it's called option 3 jugular for a reason. And that is like this is like USA, like full ground invasion into Iran. Total wipeout. Update the Duke score at 30 seconds. This is option 3. Boots on the ground. 100,000. I don't know. How many troops do you need in Iran? 100,000 plus? I don't even know. How many troops? I have no idea. How many troops? This is a very important question. Option 3, full ground invasion into Iran, total wipeout, take the Strait by force. By force. We win, you lose. Iran in this situation honestly can't do anything. Like, at least from what I understand, cannot do much. Too much. Asymmetric warfare. It gets fucking gnarly. Fucking gnarly. And lasts multiple years. And so this to me is like the last option, bro. There's basically 3. I think there's 3 options. And the third one is Trump says, fuck it. I'm done with this shit. They're too powerful. They're too dangerous. We can't let them get a nuclear weapon. We're like dilly-dallying around taking control, and we're just going for it. And they go for the fucking jugular. Okay? And this to me is the only option in which, if it goes well, it's the by the way, this is the ultimate or a gamble. Like, this is the ultimate or a gamble. And it is also the only, in my opinion, it's the only way the US leaves like stronger. Only way USA leaves with more power. The problem is, it's like the final or a gamble. If this goes well and you crush it, it's a real deal show of force. Like, the US is a monster and this was worth it kind of outcome is possible. If it doesn't go well, it has the highest downside by far. It'll be the most unpopular war ever. Everybody, Trump will be like considered a disgrace in the U.S. Like, the whole thing will just be the downside of this one is like so bad. Bitcoin probably goes to many millions of dollars from this. Gold goes to many millions of dollars from this. Like, I'm not even sure how you leave this war if it isn't like pure and utter dominance. And I'm just going to say, like, Polymarket has this at 71%, 66% chance. Basically. Not exactly. Like, they don't have option 3 jugular at 66% chance. But they have ground invasion at 66% chance, which is like ridiculously high. Polymarket has option 3 at 66% chance, which to me feels like extremely high. Somebody said you need to expand your expectations. You have like work out a deal or full scale invasion. There are a lot of options in the middle. Yeah, like W ad placement. The thing about the middle options though is they're not good. They're not good because for as long, look, I beg somebody to correct me because I would honestly like to be wrong about this, but for as long as, okay, Duke's going to win. Cool. For as long as Iran is in control of this strait and they can keep this up, which seems like forever, the U.S. is like win-win-win condition options feel underwhelming. Okay. Am I missing an option 4 before we move on from this? Am I missing an option 4 from this? Oh, I guess like a percent at this. I feel like a percent. This is like 25 to 50, bro. I don't know. 25? 20% at this point? 15 even? Even 10 is like, holy jeez. Even 10? And then I guess your final option is like, final option 4, nuke. Can't happen. Can't do it. Like, no. Can't happen. Sub 1%. It can't. It can't. Like, I don't think that there's a way in which this happens. Israel's not going to do it. This doesn't happen. In my opinion, check the poly market for nukes. You'd be surprised. Stop. What's the actual market called? Stop. Really? So markets off the yes of credible reports from international nuclear agencies. Iran's government self credible news sources officially confirmed that Iran. Okay. No. This is if Iran possesses a nuclear weapon, not if they nuke us. This is Iran possessing a nuclear weapon. I miss Dario versus Hegseth Warclawed arc. Yeah, I do too. I do too, brother. I fear that we are very far from that. There's not a good market for this, it appears. So Duke won by 6. Nice. This is where I think we're at. And now it brings me to like why I feel like I'm fucking kind of tilted on. I'll read the Ballology tweet in a minute. I'm a little bit like confused, I think, on this oil trade. Why it isn't trading higher? Because as I watch what's happening here, and I sort of like game theory out what I think could happen and like the likelihoods of it, it feels like the two most likely outcomes are bad for the US, like really bad for the US. And it also still feels like there is this separation between spiral in the Middle East and how markets are pricing these things. And I have zero confidence in my ability to short the stock market. I just do. I have no confidence in my ability to short the stock market. I have zero confidence in my ability to short the stock market. And I am mostly cash. My non-Bitcoin is just cash. Like, it's not exposed. And so the thing that I feel like I want to continue trading is oil. Like, I really have this, like, I should be long oil. Very long oil, even though I've sold it. And I was going to go on Thicky's Spaces and ask him, like, this question and get his answer on it. But I don't know. What I'm trying to figure out is, like, why aren't markets and more people taking this seriously? Why aren't more people taking this serious? And, you know, there's like a scenario, right, where we look back in like a week and you really think to yourself, like, damn, that fucking threadguy kid, like, got nuts. Like, just completely lost it. Like, wow, imagine how, like, think about how one-shotted he was when he's doing that fucking Microsoft Paint segment. Like, things really were fine. And that would be great, because then we could just, like, laugh about it, right? We could just laugh about it. And it wouldn't matter. But in this scenario, like, if there's a, you know, a above 10% chance that I was just, like, one-shotted, or I wasn't one-shotted, and that things actually were bad, it'd be nice to prepare for it and at least talk about it. And so I'm sitting here, like, we were talking about this on the morning meeting. Like, why isn't oil higher? Why is oil not higher? Like, we're very clearly in a prolonged spot. I think a lot of these oil experts would have predicted way higher. You know, like, even the most bearish oil guys were like, yeah, if that fucking strait's closed for a month, we're fucked. If they bomb an oil field in Iran, we're fucked. Like, all of these things have happened. And you see it even like on the BB interview. Any comment, people are so quick to snap back and be bullish stocks and risk and bearish oil. Like, people are so excited to do it. They're so ready to do it. And so I'm sitting here like beating my head against the wall because I got stopped out in this trade. I low-key re-entered on Brent at 100, but whatever. I got stopped out of this trade at 102, and I was like so mad because I don't know. I feel like I have a reasonable enough grasp as to where the things are right now. And I feel like I should be getting paid for it, and I'm not at the moment. Like, I did, and then I felt like the last one should have given me outsized returns, and it didn't. And so I'm sitting here thinking, like, why are more people not taking this serious? And okay, actually, I'm not gonna whatever. I won't tell that story, but I thought of like 4 things as to why people are not taking this that serious. And the first one is, like, I think people just need to see it. This is the PB Poo Poo tweet. But it was like when you go to like Washington, D.C., and there's a car line 2 blocks long to fill up gas at $8 a gallon, that's up 2x in a week, you'll probably have a window to fucking slam oil with every dollar of your net worth. Like, how much of this is people need to see it? I don't know. I wonder. How much of COVID was that? Like, you had to like see reports of people dying, or like see reports of, Australia putting infected people like in lockdown camps, basically. Like, how much of this is people need to physically see it with their own eyes? Is that a thing? I don't know. That's number one. Number two is like, I think the biggest discussion is number two. Chat, you tell me if you think I'm wrong, but number two to me is the biggest separation, and it's like 5+ years of taco is priced in. Trump always chickens out. This is the most important to me by far. This is like the most important part of the entire trade, is whether or not this is like possible. Because I listen to these I listen to a lot of like stock media now because it's important. And I'm listening to Amit, and a lot of these guys are like, they're like still really bullish. Like, this is buy the dip, wait for Trump to taco. And so the question remains, like, can Trump actually taco? Yes or no? It's pretty like binary. And there's always like a level of taco at which he could do, but if it's option 2 that we discover, like, I'm honestly doing this stream for me, by the way. Today's stream is like for me to figure out how to think about this, how to position, what to trade. And, we've had like 5 years of Trump as the president, where anytime the market got red enough, he could just snap his fingers and make it go back up again, right? Liberation Day, tariffs, things got so bad, even in his last term, like through COVID, figured out, like, he could just snap his fingers and make the market go up. And so there's like a huge spread, in my opinion, like a huge trade on the table on whether or not he has an ability. And obviously, right, if you knew how the war was going to end, you would never miss a trade. You wouldn't need to watch the stream. But if you knew, like, with some level of confidence how this would play out, and if he can or cannot taco, I mean, you would make the God trade, right? And so all of the bulls, like the only bull thesis I see now on Twitter is 4D chess, Trump taco, which I really just like disagree with as an idea, as a concept. I hate 4D chess. 4D chess to me is like retarded, because no one's doing 4D chess. Like, the people that do 4D chess are actually just doing like 1D chess really well, and they parlay it into action after action that works. No one is actually doing 4D chess ever. Okay. And so I hate the like 4D chess maxis, because I just like think it's like such a cop out. And I've kind of baked this idea in my head where I'm like, Trump can't taco this. And option 2 is the most likely, which is bad. Option 3 is the second most likely, which is really bad. And so there's like a lot of money on the table to trade this, on whether or not this is true. And then, I don't know. The third reason is like just passive flows of the stock market, like passive flows of stock market. This is something that we don't have in crypto. Tulip King like harps on me for this all the time, which is that stocks have this boomer flow that we don't have in crypto that is like a guaranteed buying power in your 401ks, in your retirement accounts, in your pension funds, nonstop, 24/7, 7 days a week, 24 hours, every paycheck. It's buying no matter what. And it makes it really hard to unwind the other direction. But when it does, it's aggressive. Like, it makes it really hard to unwind. But when you do unwind it, it fucking comes at you quick. And I don't know. Option 4, the reason 4 I hate is you know, manipulation in the order books. I don't like this take because it's like, I can't measure Scott Besson in the order books. There's no way for me to measure it. Like, it's not, I don't like it because it's just like, I'm blind to it. What am I supposed to do with that? What, if you give me this, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, I don't know, nothing. What the fuck am I supposed to do with manipulation? So what am I supposed to do with this? What am I supposed to do with this? And what am I supposed to do with this? And so I kind of get like, here is like, I just fucking fucked this up. Where I think there's like a trade opportunity is like the taco ability. Trump always chickens out. Like, can Trump chicken out of this one? Yes or no? And I'm not sure that we'll get like a binary answer to this. But the only bulls here, there's a lot of people that are flat. I don't know. I'm staying away. I should probably be flat, but I want to trade it. I'm excited to trade it. It feels like the opportunity like lies here, right? It's like every time that like Trump comes out and says, "Oh, the war won't last very long," oil dumps, and then he like makes some secondary comment. He's like, "But we'll keep it going as long as we want." Then it pumps, but it settles lower than it was before. And it just like kind of feels like coil. It's coiling. And I can't help but feel like really bullish oil here. I got stopped out of my trade. I'm fucking upset about it. But that's what I think. That's my entire read on the situation. That's all I have. After 3.5 weeks of talking about it nonstop, I also think basically every outcome is really good for Bitcoin. Bad for the US, so it's like a deal with the devil a little bit. But option 2 and 3 definitely threaten the dollar's like reserve status, which assumes that has to flow somewhere else. It's probably gold and then a little bit less Bitcoin, right? Like, so I think a lot of these outcomes are fucking bad for America, good for Bitcoin. But I don't know. This is what I think. That's my entire spitting back to you of where I think we are in war and where I think there's opportunity. And that's that segment. So I don't know. People completely disagree. I don't know. I don't see any other way that it's going. You think Sol hit another ATH? I think we're a long ways away from that. Is Jangy relevant now? No, I just feel like he's lost it a little bit, bro. I just like don't agree with a lot of things that he says, and so I just like felt like we don't need to listen to him anymore. Is VOD worth watching? I mean, I just like, it's a lot of stuff we've been talking about, but I think it was pretty fire what we just did. I liked it. So, okay, something else happened yesterday that is crazy, really crazy.
Charlie
is Joe Kent, the former director of counterterrorism for the United States of America, came out, resigned, immediately does an interview with Tucker Carlson, and says wild stuff. I mean, like, we're probably never going to hear from Joe Kent ever again, and this will probably get scrubbed off the internet. And so we're obviously going to listen to it. But I have like 5 clips, maybe 15 minutes of clips, and they're pretty fucking wild. So I'm going to get off real quick. I'll be back in 30 seconds, and then we're going to rip Joe Kent. All right, let's fucking get it. Guys, I'm having so much more fun talking about like the hot ball of money and the current thing than I am just like driving ourselves nuts about crypto when we don't have to. I really am having more fun with it. All right, I have 4 clips. They're kind of all nuts. I don't even know if I could like show these on Twitch. They're kind of nuts, these clips. I mean, they're kind of nuts, these clips. Really, they are. I didn't watch the interview, but let's just watch these clips. There's 4 of them. First,
Charlie Kirk is killed publicly, and then Charlie Kirk is killed publicly in a very horrific way, and we're not really even allowed to look into that at all. And Charlie Kirk was one of President Trump's closest advisors, and he also advocated heavily against a war with Iran. He was in the Oval Office in the lead up to the 12-day war. I wasn't particularly close with Charlie. He was very gracious to me when I was running for Congress, very, very supportive. So we knew each other. And the last time I saw Charlie Kirk on this earth was in June in the West Wing, in the stairway. And I said hi to him, and he looked me in the eye, and he said very loudly, and it's a small, you've been in the West Wing, it's small, it's a tight space. And he said, "Joe, stop us from getting into a war with Iran," very loudly.
He was single-minded.
And he walked off, and he went, I believe, into the Oval. So when one of President Trump's closest advisors, who is vocally advocating for us to not go to war with Iran and for us to rethink at least our relationship with the Israelis, and then he's suddenly publicly assassinated, and we're not allowed to ask any questions about that, it's a data point. It's a data point that we need to look into.
What do you mean when you say we're not allowed to ask any
banger follow-up. Tucker Carlson is such a good interviewer.
questions about that?
We've been told that this individual, Robinson, is a lone gunman, and maybe he is. But the investigation that I was a part of, the National Counterterrorism Center was a part of, we were stopped from continuing to investigate. And the FBI will say that they stopped that because they wanted to have turn everything over to the Utah state authorities. Everything's going to trial. It's very, very sensitive. But there was still a lot for us to look into that I can't really get into. But there was still linkage for us to investigate that we needed to run down. And I'm not making any conclusions. I'm not saying
No, I don't think you are.
because of this happened. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying there's unanswered questions. We know the pressure because of the text messages that have been made public that Charlie was under a lot of pressure from a lot of pro-Israel donors. And again, we know Charlie was advocating to President Trump against this war with Iran.
That's number 1. At some point, we'll have to pivot to Rumble, probably. Are we there yet? Let's see what order we should go in.
And last time I saw Charlie Kirk on this earth
same
was
clip.
in...
I have the same clip 3 times. Jesus. Then we have this.
On the verge of getting a nuclear weapon.
We want the thread take on the war. Where the fuck have you been for the last?
No, they...
Was Iran...
This is very important for my game theory, by the way. This sort of like breaks some of my game theory.
Was Iran on the verge of getting a nuclear weapon?
No, they weren't, 3 weeks ago when this started, and they weren't in June either. I mean...
That was the Operation Midnight Hammer.
The Iranians have had a religious ruling, a fatwa, against actually developing a nuclear weapon since 2004. That's been in place since 2004. That's available in the public sphere. But then also we had no intelligence to indicate that fatwa was being disobeyed or it was on the cusp of being lifted. The Iranian strategy, it's actually pretty pragmatic.
Wait. What is this religious thing?
Was Iran on the verge of getting a nuclear weapon?
No, they weren't, 3 weeks ago when this started, and they weren't in June either. I mean, the Iranians have had a religious ruling, a fatwa, against actually developing a nuclear weapon since 2004. That's been in place since 2004. That's available in the public sphere. But then also we had no intelligence to indicate that fatwa was being disobeyed or it was on the cusp of being lifted. The Iranian strategy, it's actually pretty pragmatic. The Iranians are obviously aware of what's taking place in their region, and their strategy was to not completely abandon their nuclear program because they saw what happened to Muammar Gaddafi in Libya when he said, hey, I've got no more nukes. I'll do what you say. I'll give up my nukes.
And we gave him the Nobel Peace Prize?
Yeah, we regime changed him, and he was executed by his own people in the most horrific way.
Oh, sodomized by a bayonet. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what that's the lesson I think that the entire region took from that when Hillary Clinton.
Unfortunately, that is what the neocon, neoliberal warmongers. That's the lesson that they showed everyone in the region. And then conversely, the Iranians also knew that if they came out and said, "Okay, we've got a nuke," whether they were bluffing or not, Saddam Hussein, Iraq right next door. So they kind of had
he
this,
hung. I think
he was hung by his own people. After a bloody war that's still essentially going on inside of Iraq. So the Iranians' position, when viewed from the lens of the region, was actually fairly pragmatic. They were preventing, themselves from developing a bomb, but they still wanted the ability. They wanted the ability to enrich. They wanted the ability to have some components so that they weren't completely stripped of it. And when we always assessed that they were either several months or a year, 2 years away from actually being able to develop a nuclear weapon.
That's kind of contradictory, right? It's like they were never close. This religious thing in place, and then he's like, no, they were like a couple months away. Like, did he not just contradict every single thing he just said?
They wanted the ability to enrich. They wanted the ability to have some components so that they weren't completely stripped of it. And when we always assessed that they were either several months or a year, 2 years away from actually being able to develop a nuclear weapon.
Several months? What do you mean several months?
On the verge of getting a nuclear weapon.
No, they weren't, 3 weeks ago when this started, and they weren't in June either. I mean, the Iranians have had a religious ruling, a fatwa, against actually developing a nuclear weapon.
Okay, he kind of just like contradicted everything he just said, right? He's like, no, then he's like, they're several months away.
The Iranians' position, when viewed from the lens of the region, was actually fairly pragmatic. They were preventing, themselves from developing a bomb, but they still wanted the ability. They wanted the ability to enrich. They wanted the ability to have some components.
Who's this tit? This is director of counterterrorism as of 2 days ago.
So that they weren't completely stripped of it. And when we always assessed that they were either several months or a year, 2 years away from actually being able to develop a nuclear weapon. And that's not because the Iranians are stupid people. I think we can tell right now that the Iranians are anything but stupid. They had the ability, I think, that the brain power to actually develop one, or they could have simply traded a ton of oil with Pakistan or someone else to actually get a nuclear weapon. They were not doing that. We had no intelligence to indicate that they were.
Got it. So like they didn't have a nuke, but they could fucking build it really quick if they wanted to. Let's see. Let me just search his name and see what else we got. Joe Kent. I really wish Duke lost, by the way. Just to cause mayhem. So here's where he resigned.
Just killed.
The only clip is this.
And whom Tucker talks to every day, by the way. It's not one of those sure bets that Peter Thiel loves so much, and whom Tucker talks to every day, by the way. I heard this recently. Do you know, by the way, that Tucker consults Peter Thiel with every major life decision he makes? Someone should ask Tucker about that. The next podcast that he's on, somebody should ask Tucker, what is your relationship with Peter Thiel? Because according to my sources, Tucker consults Peter Thiel on every major life decision. They're far closer than he lets on.
Yeah, he might be TOS. Is there anything else? Oh my God, imagine we got fucking 5 million. Only person he follows is Trump. Imagine we got Joe Kent on the stream.
One of President Trump.
Yes, this is the only thing they clipped is fucking. There's 2 clips. Focus sheet, my bad.
Policy, which has been the dominant foreign
I guess
policy.
these are the main ones to go out. I just want to see if there's anything else real quick. His interview's on YouTube. I don't really want to watch the whole interview. I just wanted to like bank a couple clips. Let's watch
Nation
this.
attempt, like recently,
This
the
one.
current president was the subject of a near successful
This is a little weird to me. Okay, I don't want to get the conspiracy. We got to get back to like the market. I don't want to get the conspiracy weeds, but it's a little weird why we never talk about this,
assassination attempt,
like ever.
like recently.
Yeah.
And we're just not going to look into very obviously it's or divulge information that everyone knows they have. For example, the surveillance tape from the shooting range at which Thomas Crooks trained, because it would answer the question, was he training with somebody? And if so, who? They have that footage and they won't release it. What could possibly be the explanation for that?
I know what the result is. The result is people come to their own conclusions, and this is where like crazy conspiracy theories come from. And then those conspiracy theories usually are easy to debunk or make the people saying them sound crazy. So then the actual question never gets answered.
I'm sorry, can you say that for people who haven't lived in Washington? Okay, I try to explain this to people all the time because this has been ongoing since at least the Kennedy assassination. But this is a very serious and reoccurring thing. It's a tactic. And you just explained it better than anyone I've ever heard. Can you just do that again if you can recall it from memory?
Yeah, I mean, so basically you give no information whatsoever on something that's obvious that there should be information. Like you outlined, like there's potentially footage of Crooks at the shooting range. Again, Police 101, go get the tapes. Let's figure it out. If you don't want to address that question, then you go silent on it and you say, you can't ask that question, which then creates people who come out of kind of nowhere and they start drawing their own conclusions.
Right.
Knowing the way the internet works, I mean, half of them, or if not more, are probably going to be so far off in left field and made by legitimate kooks or bots that then you can just be like, oh, these people asking these questions about that tape at the video range.
It's space
They're
aliens.
All crazy conspiracy theorists. They say it's a UAP or whatever. And so then you've just, diverted all attention away from the thing that you're trying to conceal, and now everyone's focused on the crazies.
Man.
And then the second someone asks a legitimate...
All right, what do we think of this Joe Kent guy? There isn't really that many like crazy clips from it, to be honest. Maybe there's one more actually that I want. Joe Kent. Maybe one more. I thought there was another war. This is the last one. 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 This is the last clip. Last clip.
We knew not that Iran was going to attack. He did not say that.
Right.
He said we knew that Israel was going to attack Iran, and in retaliation for those attacks by Israel against Iran, Iran might attack American forces. So the imminent threat that the Secretary of State is describing is not from Iran, it's from Israel.
Exactly. And I think this speaks to the broader issue. Who is in charge of our policy in the Middle East? Who is in charge of when we decide to go to war or not? In this case, with what the Secretary described, and later on the President, later on the Speaker of the House, and the way the events played out, the Israelis drove the decision to take this action, which we knew would set off a series of events, meaning the Iranians would retaliate.
This is like not a consensus idea, I don't think. I don't think everyone's like agreed on this publicly.
Now, I think there's a potential there where we could have done several different things. We could have simply said to the Israelis, no, you will not. And if you do, then we will take something away from you. I think that it's fine that we offer defense to Israel. But when we're providing the means for their defense, we get to dictate the terms of when they go on the offense.
I know Rubio said it, but it was like walked back really hard. And then Trump was like, no. And Bibi was like, no.
Otherwise, they stand to lose that relationship. And the
Thread, you can do crypto gun. I do markets, baby. Of course.
The Israelis felt emboldened that no matter what they did, no matter what situation they put us in, that they could go ahead and take this action, and we would just have to react. And so that speaks to that relationship. But also, it just shows that there was a lobby pushing for us to go to war. I know we'll get into that later on in the statement, but we had a real potential, I think, knowing what we know of the Iranians and how they react, and in particular, how they react to President Trump's leadership. The Iranians, under President Trump's leadership, especially in his second term, they have shown that they take a very calculated approach to the escalation ladder. For instance, in the lead up to the 12-day war before Midnight Hammer, the Iranians didn't attack us. They were engaged in negotiations with us. When President Trump came back into office, they stopped their proxies who were attacking us under the Biden administration because they knew Biden was weak. They stopped their proxies from attacking us as well. So they knew President Trump was someone who wanted to negotiate, but more importantly, they knew that President Trump was not someone to mess with because he killed Qasem Soleimani, he killed Abu Mahdi Mohandas, he had defeated ISIS. They knew that President Trump was a man of action. He is militarily strong. And so they said, before we take an action, we need to make sure that it's calculated. So I think in this scenario, even if the Israelis told us we're going to strike on this date at this time, and we didn't, try to negotiate with the Israelis and say, hey, we'll take something away from them, I think we still could have back-channeled to the Iranians and said, hey, if something happens here in the next couple of days, it's not us. We're still serious about negotiations, and we don't want to escalate this, because it's well known what the Iranians' plans were. We knew that they were going to hit potentially our bases in the region, potentially our allies. We knew about the Straits of Hormuz. All of these things, I think, were fairly
Did we know about it?
well known.
The Straits of Hormuz question lingers. Okay, my only problem with do a show for Avi with Avi for street launch. Bro, I can't kickstart ICM. You know that. Come on, bro. You know that. I don't have that kind of power, and even if I did, that's not how I would use it. By the way, nothing against Avi. I'm just saying, like, in general. If I had that kind of power, it's not how I would use it. The only problem with the Joe Kent situation is, like, what's the goal? What's the goal? What is the goal? Like, what was the purpose of doing this interview and dropping all of this stuff? Because on one hand, it is, like, patriotic as fuck to come out and fucking, on some, like, Edward Snowden, like, whistle blow the truth. But on the other hand, he kind of, like, says a bunch of heavy stuff with no receipts to back it up. And I understand that some of these things are, like, security risks, and there's a lot of things you can't say. But, like, I feel like we're missing some context, We're definitely missing some context. And so I just wish I had a take on, like, why he did this. Because, I mean, they're going to go after him, right? I mean, it's pretty nuclear what he just did. He was under investigation for leaking classified docs before he resigned. So there's some motivation to go on attack here. Probably partial truths. They all write books. Listen to the whole interview. He touched on it at the beginning. Tucker touches on it. Okay, I'll do that. I'll listen to it off stream. Maybe we'll watch some of it, like, tomorrow on Friday stream, kind of like chill thing. I don't know if it's exactly chill, but that was Campbell or Kent. Now I have this article in front of me today that I've been wanting to read. I didn't read it. And I think it's really good. This is the guy who wrote it. Where's the AG? You spell it? I don't know what his Twitter is. Let me see. Oh, here it is. AB. Threadguy, other link. All right, let me switch. This is the guy who wrote it. MicroStrategy. This is the guy that, like, markets cook when we're talking conspiracies. Now we're basically talking about the oil market, bro. To be completely honest with you, the markets are absolutely not cooked. By the way, there's electric stuff happening in all markets. Crypto is relatively cooked at the moment, but there's electric stuff happening everywhere. So this guy wrote it, and he has some sick credentials. I don't really know, but he fucking binked the silver trade. Like, binked the silver trade. Like, really hard. And we annotated it, and I want to read it. I fucking want to read it. It's pretty long, though, so, like, let's just, like, start reading. I haven't read it. It's actually not that long. It's, like, relatively long. Let's just, like, skim it. And it's like a 4D chess optimistic outlook for the war type of article. And so I want to read it. Let's read it. Guy's really sharp. If you don't follow him on Twitter, you should. Summary. Here's a summary. Iran demands yuan payment for Hormuz passage. Reserve currency war, not just military. Important for the dollar. The U.S. doesn't need to control the strait. It controls the sea. Playbook. Seize Iranian ships, sell their oil in dollars, flood Iran with starlings. Oil spike, inflation, Fed can't ease, AI compute, cost, rise, acceleration slows. Everything is the same trade. Take down a risk, preserve capital. I think that's like the summary of like where we've gotten to. So we'll start reading it. If you get bored, just let me know. We'll skip. Let's go, Rocky. Iran's declaration last week contained two conditions for safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. A, you are a friend, and B, you are willing to price your oil in the Chinese yuan, which is crazy, by the way, because what I've also learned is that a huge amount of social power, just like US dominance, is the petrodollar, which is all oil is settled in dollars, bro. All of it, like all oil is settled in US dollars, right? It's like all meme coins being like backed against pump liquidity pool. All oil trade is settled in US dollars, not gold, US dollars. And it's like never been threatened. And the way I understand it is like the GCC countries, Saudi Arabia, whatever, agree to do this in exchange for like military protection. So like we'll settle all oil in dollars. You protect us. You protect us. We'll settle oil in dollars, give you GOAT status, and you protect us. And yeah, Gaddafi threatened it. A few months later, he was dead. That's what we've learned from this. And so they've started this. Please explain in ETH BTC. It's like every launch pad on all chains was like, we'll launch on Sol, like backed against Sol. Like everybody's like, we will launch on Sol. Fuck it. Base coins, fuck it. We'll launch in exchange for your liquidity and your buyers and your like attention and your promotion. Totally will retweet, whatever. Everybody will launch on Sol. Everybody. Fuck Base, fuck ETH, fuck every other chain. Everybody will launch on Sol forever. And like we saw what happened, right? When Trump coin launches on Sol, right? It's like paired by Sol. Solana all this new money comes in, floods in, it's buying Sol to buy Trump. It goes crazy. And so that's basically what the dollar is in oil trade. Everybody agrees to settle in dollars. It's just like a crazy. I didn't really know that was the thing. I mean, I didn't like not know it was the thing, but no, I didn't really know it was the thing. Also, let me know if that analogy sucked, Till King, but I think it's right. Like if every on-chain coin in perpetuity was like we're launching on Sol, that's like the petrodollar. If you needed clear evidence that we are in the age of decoupling and that this is about those that would seek to overturn the world order versus those that seek to preserve it, this is your most clear signal. It was awesome. Thank you, bro. First, Trump has made an open call for those who would opt into a coalition to reopen the strait. That I felt like was a sign of weakness. Second, the call to China to see if they were willing to participate with the obvious non-answer / no. Third, low information folks might see this as flailing. Low information. But it's really an extension of this separating equilibrium strategy identified almost a year back in the era of Liberation Day. What's unique about this party, though, is it's one the Europeans don't really get to opt out of. Remember, the U.S. is an energy exporter. We make the shale, we send the LNG. We're an exporter, not an importer, which means we have a lot of fucking oil. We have so much petroleum, we don't burn coal just because it makes us feel bad. Time to choose a side. Decoupling is... Okay, so just like Russia, whether they want it or not, their energy dependence, I think we're talking about Germany here, means that they're in this game. They don't choose the starting clock, but they are on side. If they really want to opt out, they can deal with Russia alone. Time to choose a side. Decoupling is coming. Lastly, and maybe I'm being a little naive here, there were the overtures obviously being made to Russia right now. Maybe there is a deal to be struck with Russia. Maybe it's possible to pull them ever so slightly out of the Chinese sphere of influence. Call it wishful thinking, but like Germany and Russia in 1940, the Sino-Russo alliance is not stable. What is that? Sino-Russo alliance. The Russia-China partnership. Sino. Nice. Yeah, wishful thinking is 40 chess. So call it 40 chess. But like Germany, Russia, 1940, the Sino-Russo alliance is not stable. So Russia and China. And it wouldn't be the ultimate coup for Trump if the conflict in Iran opened up the trade space with Russia to bring them back into the European fold. So is this the end of the American empire? Leave it to Ray to come out of the woodwork and Ray Dalio, and try to frame the conflict in Iran in incredibly stark and binary terms. If the U.S. can't open up Hormuz, it's the end of the American empire, basically. It's low-key what I did today, too. That's like low-key what I did today on my own. Not on my own, but like I didn't read the Ray Dalio thing. I'm not going to read this, but that's basically the Dalio, like changing world order, long gold, American empire dead, petrodollar dead. Now with Ray, that all this stuff is fundamentally bullish for gold, though the market isn't acting like it for reasons we'll explain later. But I'm not 100% with him that this is like the end of the game for the empire if the U.S. comes away with a couple of bruises. I think it's bigger than that. Part of the reason they were powerless in the Suez was because the mantle of global empire had already been passed on to their ally in those two world wars, which was also not coincidentally a rimland power, the U.S. The primary way this leads to calamity for the U.S. is if it gets dragged into a conflict it cannot win in the heartland, which, if we're drawing parallels, provides pretty clear advice to policymakers. No boots on the ground, especially not in the mountainous mainland. No boots. That's why it's important, right? If the U.S. gets dragged into a conflict, it cannot win in the heartland. Suez. No boots on the ground, especially not in the mountainous mainland. Polymarket has it at 70. Suez. That's what I said, right? Suez. No boots on the ground. That's the Heartland playbook, and it's one that would end the empire because that's where empires go to die. Ask the Soviets in Afghanistan, ask the US in Iraq. Ask literally anyone who's tried to hold the interior of the Middle East by force. But the US doesn't have to play that game. It's a rimland power. It has aircraft carriers. It is the sea. Iran's whole leverage here comes with strangling from one choke point. So here's an idea. For every ship they mine, for every tanker they hit, for every missile they send at a bypass terminal, seize their ships. Not 1 for 1, 10 for 1. Every Iranian flagged vessel on the planet is already being tracked. Park the carriers, interdict the tankers, seize the assets, then sell their oil in dollars. Keep bombing. Iran gets to play the choke point game up until they realize that the rimland power they're poking controls the rest of the ocean. And they've already hardened the GCC countries against them by attacking Kuwait, Emirati, and Saudi infrastructure. This we know. Those are supposed to be neutral parties. Now they're collateral damage. Every drone Iran sends at a UAE oil field is another country that has no choice but to join the coalition, whether the Europeans show up or not. The game theory here isn't who controls the strait. It's who controls the sea, and that one's not even close. That's fucking sick. That's sick. Does he sound like Hegseth? Yes. That's fucking sick. The game theory isn't who controls the state, it's who controls the sea. Every unit firing at tankers in Hormuz is a unit not available to shoot protesters in Tehran. Jesus. So flood the country with Starlinks. Tens of thousands of terminals are already smuggled in from the 2022 protests, and they're the only reason any information gets out of Iran during blackouts. Use air power to scale that by 10x. Fund it with the proceeds from seized Iranian tankers if you want to be poetic about it. And if the Kurds aren't coming to the rescue and the regime is slaughtering unarmed civilians in the streets, then airdropped the people guns. That's a little crazy. That got a little nuts, huh? A really smart guy wrote this, bro. I'm not trolling. I wouldn't like play this if it wasn't good. A really smart guy wrote this. If the IRGC is going to wage war, Brofine is calling and writing fanfics. If the IRGC is going to wage war on its own population, the population should at least have the means to fight back. You can fight a war abroad or a revolution at home. Pick one. I'm not sure what happened to the front end of the Western oil market. Whoa, I would not be surprised if some policymakers intervened. Selling spot to buy forward and fulfilling the shorts with flows coming from the strategic stockpiles seems like a good trade and decent policy. But it seems clear that the abstraction embedded in the question, what's the price of oil, is yet again being begged into a second question of which one. Our call last week was that we don't have confidence in the front of the curve, but the back of the curve is too cheap, was borne out well. Which is a function of folks kind of internalizing that A, there don't really seem to be a lot of off-ramps, and B, this isn't the kind of thing Trump can just fiat his way out of, and C, Iran has more cards to play than maybe a lot of people thought. This is, I agree with. The funny thing about being a macro speculator is it's simultaneously the easiest and hardest job in the world. It's easiest because the effective barriers to entry are zero. The hardest because you are explicitly trying to deal with the markets at the highest level, which means there's always a new bit of information or data you haven't paid attention to, which can all of a sudden become a macro risk. Hormuz, Liberation Day, DeepSeek, the yen carry unwind, SVB, COVID, the list goes on. I'm hype, I know about all those. While there are times, usually around 2 to 4 times a year, where the macro becomes so important in determining market outcomes that not only does it start to drive their portfolio, but it basically makes clear that, yes, after all, there was a lot of macro risk embedded in their portfolio. See, when you are managing a lot of managers, often with tight stops, you kind of guarantee that when you get big market moves, someone is going to hit their stop and blow out. There are no ex-macro purists in a war for oil, as they say. We're almost done. The war doesn't just threaten your oil book. It threatens the thing everyone is actually long, which is the acceleration itself, artificial intelligence. Look, let me be brief. At this point, we know we're in the acceleration. And I still maintain that A, the models aren't getting exponentially more intelligent. But why are they getting but they are getting exponentially more useful. Why? Intelligence equals power. Again, all the books, all the articles, the NGOs, the cults, the fanfics, the conferences, the protests, almost all of them are fueled by what is essentially a revenge of the nerds fever dream. I was the smartest kid in high school. I wasn't the most powerful. But one day, if I build something smart enough, surely that will fix it. At the heart of this fallacy is something that every Chad knows. The path to power in high school isn't intelligence. It's not even muscles or external validation. At least in high school, the path to power comes from popularity. It comes from choice. The choice of others to provide you power. The thing you need to realize about Claude Code or Codex, OpenClaw, or the litany of Me Too copycats is that the reason they are impactful isn't because they are that much smarter than the other bots. It's because the orchestration environment is much, much, much more powerful. This is what tech people mean when they say these bots have more agency. Agency equals power. Why does this matter? Why did this rant show up in the middle of a war piece? Because it explains what's happening to the thing everyone is actually long. See, oil just went up a lot. Even if peace breaks out tomorrow and oil comes gushing back through, we have some inflation coming down the pipe. Even if these supply chain problems wreak havoc on growth, the Fed pretty much can't come to the rescue. So what do you do? What do you do? If we get peace ASAP, which seems less and less likely every day, oil comes back down, the inflation comes out of the system, and sure, there's some supply chaos, but it's basically off to the races. The Fed can shift to easing, and all the bets on AI will ride out the vol and pay off. Heck, SK Hynix is trading with a sub 6 PE. But in a world where this is the beginning, where it's the final battle, and it will take weeks, months, or gasp, years to fully resolve, well, that really sucks. This is what I'm trying to price in. Not only because it means we get energy inflation, which means tightening, but it also means other kinds of cost push inflation. No helium means less chips, which means less data centers, which means less flops, which means the cost of training in inference just went up. It actually means slower acceleration. Every day Hormuz is closed raises the prospect that these productivity gains come from firing the workers who don't use AI. The degree to which everything is the same trade right now should give everyone pause. Rather than try to be the hero and call the top or bottom of the oil market, or try to perfectly hedge out all the war oil risk, the implication is simpler than that. Take down risk. Preserve your bullets for when things are actually clear. I see a lot of people right now going into hero mode or trying to craft the perfect hedge, while options are expensive and correlations are deeply uncertain. That's not risk management, that's expensive anxiety. That was an AI. AI wrote that sentence. That's not risk management, that's expensive anxiety. Like any war, it's probably going to play out in a lot of unexpected and unknowable ways. Pick your spots, manage your drawdowns, and try not to let the outcome be the final battle for your portfolio. I'm taking down risk and keeping my defensive positioning. If this tone makes you feel like you are over your skis, you probably are. Leave the heroics to the other guys. Source, A.B. Campbell, Campbell Ramble, March 18th, 2026. I think it's a pretty good piece. I like the framing of everything's the same trade a lot. I think that's a really good take, that everything's the same trade. I think everything is the same trade right now, actually. And so all the alpha is just figuring out, like, can Trump taco, right? I fully agree that being a hero right now just has pretty bad RR, right? Like, I think he actually has good takes in this article, like really good takes. I like it a lot. Everything is the same trade right now. And if you feel like you're in over your skis, you probably are. And so, yeah, it leads me to feeling like, how do you position for this? Like, what do you do with this? What exactly do you do with this? And then this. And then this. And I think you just do nothing. You know, I made this tweet the other day, and it was like about how if traders could articulate their job better, they would like get laid more or whatever. It was controversial, whatever. Somebody gave like a serious response. It was CL, and he was like, actually, like, the reality situation is trading is really boring. It's really boring. And most of the time, you're going to be sitting here doing nothing. And then eventually, you're going to make a trade, and then you're going to sit here and do nothing for a while. And that is actually what trading is. Unless those few off times where you are trenching or trading garbage. But the actual like execution aspect is very infrequent. Like before oil, I didn't take a trade since Zcash, bro. Is that true? I didn't take a single trade since Zcash. I traded Uniswap on the BlackRock news or whatever. Real quick. I traded Hype very briefly on that shit execution where it went to 37. Little chillers. And I traded oil. And so one of the funniest bits in my favorite book of all time, Reminiscences of a Stock Operator, is one of my favorite bits in this book is I have like a running counter of how often he is like how often the word phishing is. Oh, I traded Palantir and Tesla. I did. You're right. They were quick though. Like that's true though. I traded Tesla into SpaceX, made a little money, and I traded Palantir on the war, made a little money. Not crazy, small, 10, 20%. That's true. I forgot about those. But they weren't like, they were pretty like, they count. Low size, low conviction. Like I just like to click buttons. But my favorite bit in Reminiscence of a Stock Operator is how often the word "I was in Florida fishing" is referenced. Like basically he's home actively trading a massive bull market or right before a massive bear market, or he's in Florida fishing. The whole book is doing one of the two. Like he's in actual like figurative war in the order books, or he's fishing. That's it. Nothing else. And I've noticed like my best trades have been this. Wait a while. Be terminally online. Okay. Rhino made this tweet the other day. I'm going to read it too because I think it's important. Malcolm tweeted it for him. He deleted it. I wish he didn't delete it. But I think it's a good, like, you know, like, I'm going to read this to you because I think it's a good tweet for, like, you to internalize. Because I think there's people that are naturally gifted as a trader. Like, there's naturally gifted traders that have, like, the LeBron James build. Right? Like, there are naturally gifted traders that are just better traders than you. There's also naturally gifted traders that are like traditionally trained to be traders. But that isn't everybody, and I don't think you have to be that to like make money in the markets. This was a tweet. The guy kind of does show that you could do fairly well if you're terminally online, even above some traders or people who identify as such. He's kind of nailed some shit without vague posting like your fave trading account. Fair play, no. He's so fucking online all the time, it works. I think you can really make up for it by being terminally online. You could actually make up for a lot by being terminally online. Like you could make up for a lot, dude, by just being on the internet all day. You could really make up for a lot. Because you get handed opportunities like the Zcash. You get handed spots. Handed to you. You can really make up for a lot by being so online that you trade every coin. And that's why I think, like, with this stream, there will always be a lot of time in between us, like, clicking the button. We had this oil thing that was really fun. You get a lot of viewers. You get a lot of dopamine. I love being in a I mean, you know me. I love being in a trade. I fucking love... There's nothing in the world I love more than being in a trade and, like, knowing I'm right. And it hasn't played out. I love being in a trade. You know I love being in a trade. But the majority of the time, I'm not. And so you have to fill that time with good inputs into your brain. Otherwise, it's just otherwise you get worse. You have to fill it with trash in, trash out, right? Like you got to fill it with good inputs. And so that leads me to like one of the last things I want to talk about, which is like I'm increasingly attracted to Bitcoin again, even though I got done yesterday saying that I think I have too much money in Bitcoin. I'm increasingly attracted to BTC because it's doing pretty well in uncertainty. And I'm into this new Sailor Ponzi. I think it like adds something interesting. It's worth paying attention to at least. Again, like Bitcoin at 60K was not worth paying attention to for any reason other than it's at a low technical level. Like it's technically low and we should long it. But here it's interesting. And so this guy quote tweeted Taiki, which we watched the video. And no on Taiki's why bottoms in for Bitcoin. The reason I became bearish in Q4 25 was because people were positioned all in leverage for Q4 alt season, while the DATs were running out of money to buy, so the market was fragile. Maybe there was also a confluence with the 4-year cycle, so people were ready and itching to sell anyways. A combination of all these factors led to a deleveraging cascade. Right now, in terms of positioning, people are generally aware of the 4-year cycle and are prepared for a potential Q4 bottom. The prevailing idea is that you can just do nothing, wait until Q4, buy this magical bottom, and then make money. That's never how it works. For us to hit new lows in Q, this is my favorite take. Is like, okay, forget new highs. What would it take for new lows? For us to hit new lows in Q4 26, there would have to be some kind of liquidation or capitulation event. But if people are already comfortable sitting in cash, I just don't see how something like that happens. When I look at the positioning across traders and fund managers I talk to, most of them are over 60% in cash. It's not that they're bearish on crypto. They're all just waiting for one leg lower. I think the reemergence of Sailor could prevent that next leg lower, meaning these people would have to buy back higher. Markets can't bottom without two things: sellers being exhausted and buyers stepping in. For a long time, we haven't had a marginal buyer ready to push prices higher in Bitcoin. If you look at Sailor's Twitter, all he talks about is stretch. What's good, Flood? I think he knows that the only way for strategy to get out of this rut is to really drive usage and adoption of it. Stretch holders receive an 11.5% rate in stability, while MSTR buys Bitcoin with the proceeds. If Bitcoin goes up more than 11.5% in a year, MSTR shareholders also benefit. Strategy also has $2 billion in reserves, which equates. No, we didn't read it, but it's like similar to it's basically the Taiki video, like in text, which equates to roughly 28.5 months of dividends coverage. That means they have enough cash to pay more than 2 years worth of liabilities. So as a yield farmer, capital allocator, or investor, getting an 11.5% rate from a company with over 2 years of runway to pay these dividends seems like an interesting proposition. I've never owned MSTR, but I bought some stretch to experiment with. It could cause problems in the future. I hate this. It might cause future problems in the future, but it's not our problem yet. The main Bitcoin bull case here is stretch reaching some. We own a lot of stretch. Really? What percent of your port? I don't know if you could share that. Do you really? You and Kyle? Is Kyle own a lot? 10% plus. Wow. Wow. Kyle's port all in cash stretch. Hey, I know you won't come on the stream, but get Kyle on. Get Kyle on the stream. The main BTC bull case here is stretch reaching some kind of escape velocity where it becomes more trusted over time and its risk profile is considered safe enough to attract not only crypto native investors, but also outside capital. I think he was, I don't know if he was just like full blown retard. The guy that came on the stream, I can't think, Jeff? Was it Jeff? I can't think of his name now. Was it Jeff? Jeff Dorman? What's his name? Jeff Dorman? Is that right? He said it unlocks $100 trillion of idle capital that could not buy Bitcoin that can now buy Bitcoin through stretch. 2.5x the market cap of gold. Who's Jeff Dorman? Did I just make that up? How about XXI? Is that Jack Mallers? I saw Jack Mallers was under some heat. That would enable Sailor to buy hundreds of millions of Bitcoin every week, if not billions. Oh, Jeff Walton. Wait, let's see this. I love this website. How come every time we look, though, it's at 0? Every time we look on stream, it's at 0. Why? Every stream, it's at 0. My bet in buying Bitcoin is that we are in the early stages of capitalization phase of stretch. This is actually the first strategy product I can imagine using as part of my portfolio. If it works for me, it should work for others. I like that. If I like it, other people should like it. And if it works for others, there's a lot of potential demand flowing into this product. Also, if this works, then people like Tom Lee could replicate it, which could create some crazy reflexivity. Something to think about. In bear markets, people often worry about everything that could go wrong. Well, in bull markets, they focus on everything that could go right. I would encourage everyone to do the opposite. In a bear market, think about what could go right. I'm sorry, but the stretch website was generated by Claude. It was generated by Claude, unfortunately. Jeff Walton's Drive Capital. Jesus. So somebody asked me, we were going to talk about crypto again. And that's my response, is this too. Reddit. r/fire. Stretch. Is it worth allocating 10% to? Stretch from strategy. In general, how does this work? Promising 11% dividend, and they have the cash reserve to pay it, but where does the yield come from? Well, I have a stop loss at 95 bucks. Also, it states 11.5%. So I put a large chunk. Seems like a no-brainer. What am I missing? From Responsible P 8210. And Big 16Z quote tweeted it and said, "This is the most bullish thing I have seen all year." How's it trading right now? Okay, so when it's over 100, they're buying Bitcoin. Is that how it works? And if it's under 100, what are they doing? It looks like a strange chart. Yeah, no fucking kidding, bro. It's ridiculous. It looks insane. Nothing. It's just the market trading it. And what makes it get back above 100? They're just buying it. They buy it under 100, and then over 100, they buy Bitcoin. This chart is nuts. Do you just buy this every time it gets destroyed? Like 93, 94, 95, 96? It's a wild chart. This thing is not. It's gnarly. It doesn't get back to 100. They were raised. I see. They keep raising the dividend. The lower it gets, they raise the dividend higher, so you buy, and we get back over 100, so they buy more Bitcoin. I see. So the more it stays below 100, the higher they raise the yield, the more people that buy it, which means they can lower the yield to buy more Bitcoin. And then it just like dilly-dallies the whole fucking way until Bitcoin goes to $1 billion and Sailor's the richest man on earth. I think. That's awesome. Good time to launch it. Yeah, no kidding. So yeah, that leaves me with. I got stopped out of my little cheeky long on oil today. I'm taking my money from the casino, and I'm good on the oil thing for now. I may or may not have a whatever. We'll deal with that later. Sailor's bet is that his entry is safe enough. Yeah. What is his Sailor average? Is 70s? 70? 70? And he's continuing adding his levels to 2 to 3 year playbook. Time on the debt before things get a little sketch. Yeah. Yeah. So that basically leaves me 75% BTC. The rest is in cash. And the second I get off this stream, I feel like I took me to the box. The second I get off this stream and I check my email, there's going to be an email waiting for me there. And you know what the email is going to be? Chat. It's from my accountant. And in my accounting email, there's going to be a number. And in that number, it's going to say my yearly capital gains. And I'm not exactly sure what the number is going to be. But what I do know is that given the amount of money I made in 2025, which, by the way, I had an objectively a good year in 2025. I'm not saying I'm fucking the GOAT, but like, what percentile do you think makes you the GOAT? Like upper 1%, and you could like kind of walk around like you're him. All I'm saying is that based off my performance last year and how much money is in my checking account, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, man. I don't know what happened. Okay, I don't know what happened. I don't know, man. I don't fucking know what happened. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. It's a ping pong table, Flood. I don't know what happened. I'm sitting here looking at these trades, and I'm like, he's like, you made this much on Trump? This is your wallet? I'm like, yeah, that's me. And he's like, you made this much on whatever token. eSIM? Yeah, that's me. You made this much on a uni long? Uni? Hold on. You longed Uniswap in 2025? And that's what you put out? Yeah, that's me. Yeah, whatever. Wait. I see you made money on Pump Fun, but it says it was through Hyperliquid. You trade perps? This is a perp trade? Yeah, it's a perp trade. Wait. Okay. We established you did whatever on perps, but Zcash on perps? In this size? In a bear market? Yeah, that's me. That's me. I'm going through. I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. And he's like, you flew to Mexico every time you executed one of these trades? And I'm like, yeah. Of course I did. He's like, oh, that's why. That's what these tickets are. He's like, why'd you take 88 flights in 2025? I'm like, who do you think's executing these fucking trades? Jeff sends the jet. Yeah, it's like, the casinos, you go lose like an M. Talking from experience. Maybe I'm talking, maybe you go lose like an M at the fucking whatever, and then they're like, they buy you a steak dinner and they put you in a fucking suite. It's kind of like what Hyperliquid does, whatever. And so we're going through these transactions, and I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. That is me. I did make that trade. Oh, that was a sick one. Oh, sick one. Did you lose 100K on ZachXBT token? Yeah, okay, that was me too. And then I'm sitting here doing like mental math on the final number. And I pull up the Amex account and I'm like, ooh, man. I guess I can't take next week. Yeah, what's this belief token, he says? Oh my God, I forgot about the KOL scan trade. That was one of the best trades of my life, actually. That was a wild one. I will never forget that KOL scan trade. I will never forget that. I will never forget the KOL scan trade in my life. One day, this is the last thing I'm going to say today. One day, did you spend exactly $2,000 at 4:30 a.m.? One day, I'm like me and the homies, whatever, we're hanging out, late 24, I think. And I'm like on KOL scan, just scrolling. And Frank's like, they have a token, right? And I'm like, really? They have a token? Really? What's the market cap? And we look and it's like 150K. And I'm like, what? KOL scan? 150K? Should probably like buy 1%, right? He's like, yeah, probably. It's retarded. They suck and they're stupid. But I think I said that, not him. But like, yeah, buy 1%. I'm like, all right. And so I buy 1%. And then a year goes by. And I'm on stream in June, July, September. And everyone in the chat's like, KOL scan got acquired by Pump Fun. I pull up the chart and I'm like, damn. Look at this thing go, bro. Look at KOL scan. Wow. Like, imagine having KOL scan, and I'm like looking at it. A couple minutes pass. It's like starting to like wick down. I'm on stream. I'm like, guys, if I had KOL scan right now, I would be selling the fuck out of it. Yeah, man. If I had KOL scan, I'd be selling the fuck. And I like fucking scramble, and I like, oh, I like run. I like dig up an old laptop. I'm like searching wallets. Find 1% of it on a wallet. 100K, bam, sold it, stacked it, one clip, wicked that thing down 50%, closed my laptop, got back on stream, and tweeted about it, and everyone's like, he insider traded KOL scan. I'm like, bro, look at the wallet. I've held it for 417 days. I've held it for 417 days. 417 days I held this token. 417 days. And that, my friends, that's what trading is. That's what trading is. Sometimes we're going to sit here, we're going to do fucking nothing for long stretches of time. But you know what? When we strike like a fucking lion, baby. We hunt. We love to hunt. We love to hunt, chat. You know what a lion does when they see a wounded animal? What does a lion do when they see a wounded animal, chat? What does a lion do when they see a wounded animal? What do they do? What do they do? You see a wounded gazelle. What do they do? No, they let it go. They let it go. It's too easy. It's too easy. It's too easy. It's too fucking easy because they love to hunt, chat. They love to hunt, baby. What am I going to do with a wounded gazelle? I want to hunt. It's too easy. Sometimes I see free money on the floor. Trade idea. It's too easy. Somebody else take it. I want Scott Besson 1v1 in the crude books. I want to hunt, baby. And that's what we fucking do on this stream. Sometimes it's 6 months in between. Sometimes it's 3 months in between. Sometimes it's a month. Maybe tomorrow we'll have the God trade day, but we're going to fucking hunt. We're going to eat. We're going to kill. And then we're going to hunt again. And it may take a month, 6, 12, whatever. But we are going to fucking hunt, bro. Sometimes when a baddie slides into my DMs, asks me out, I think to myself, no, not interested. You know why, chat? I'm not even trolling. You know why? Because something's off, bro. I love to hunt. Make a new account, alt PFP. I DM her first on an alt account just to see if I could do it. That's the difference. That's what separates this fucking community, our chat, our stream from everybody else. We're making alt accounts just to see if we could do it. I love you. I appreciate y'all. I'm out. Friday stream tomorrow. Basketball's on. I got shit to watch. I got shit to do. We got a lot to talk about. It's been a great week. It's been a tiring 3 weeks. I love you. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. I'm about to go to the gym, and I'm about to hunt, baby. I'm about to hunt. Word to Eric Thomas. I love you. I'm out. I appreciate you. Peace.